Welcome everybody to the Museum of Australian Democracy here at Old Parliament House. Can I get you to sit on the end seat?
It's a rite of passage for generations of young Australians.
What are we noticing in this space?
The school trip to Parliament House and the nation's capital to learn about democracy and national institutions firsthand.
A politician is probably a possible job for me. I would like to do that.
So we might be running together in a few years' time.
Or against each other.
There's a yearning to understand more about our history of why we have the democracy we do, how they can participate.
But experts are worried traditional approaches to engaging kids in civics are no longer cutting through. Recent national tests showed just 28% of Year 10 students and only 43% of Year 6 learners are proficient in civics, the lowest levels since testing began 2 decades ago.
It has had a more steep decline. That should be something that we all take really seriously. We need our children to, really understand those democratic values on which this country is built.
Education researcher Tricia Jar says civics teaching is patchy around the country.
Things like civics can slip through the cracks, and I think it's a real source of inequality if we don't have that consistent approach in schools.
They can't or won't connect with the views of the younger generation.
Misinformation needs...
At Ambervale High on Sydney's southwestern outskirts, they try to engage students in civics with real-world examples.
The future voters, will we be...
When we hold our general elections for senior leaders, we set up our voting booths and we have the kids do paper votes and cast it into a ballot box.
They post a bunch of brain rot.
But teacher Joe Novak says students feel ignored by mainstream politics.
They do feel that then their voice is not heard, and they do really question whether the political parties are taking their views on board.
There are warnings that the impacts of Australia's poor performance in civics education extend well beyond the classroom.
Australia's Governor-General Sam Mostyn is among those who believe it has implications for the future of democracy itself, especially when paired with the threat of misinformation online.
I think misinformation and disinformation is the great scourge of our time, and we cannot allow generations of young people to think that that's their only form of information.
Medicare is dead.
It's one of the things that could weaken us as a country. We have to infuse into the discussion and the education about why we're a strong democracy.
Greens just protest. They don't actually get anything done.
In the recent election, misinformation flooded social media channels where budding voters got their information.
Trumpeter Patriots exposes the truth about climate change.
We're living in a time of political polarisation. It becomes more important than ever to have, a common understanding of some fundamentals of our democratic system.
Among those getting spammed was first-time voter Luke Turner.
There are some that you're not really sure what is true and what is not.
He did his own research and he's turned up to the polls in Hobart, eager to have his say.
I'm looking forward particularly to looking at the Senate ballots.
Luke's cast his ballot. Now it's time to enjoy his democracy sausage.
Filling out the boxes was quite interesting. I think there was 32. I voted below the line as well for the Senate. Make things interesting, I suppose.
Labour, they caused a cost of living crisis.
I'm voting Liberal for cheaper petrol.
At Ambervale, these teens were keenly watching the recent election via social media ads.
Honestly, I thought that anything on Instagram was kind of insulting to younger generations.
I experienced a fair amount in terms of sheer volume, but not very much in terms of substance.
A lot of the stuff online, like TikTok and Instagram, it was just jokes and memes and nothing really serious.
Since when do Peter Dutton speak Mandarin?
But when it came to spotting fakes and artificial intelligence, they had a sharper eye than their parents.
There's definitely people around me that are particularly the older generations that could probably have some more media literacy.
A lot of them are really very scarily accurate. There's a couple of people I know who would fall for anything. Absolutely anything.
What's a leading question?
Now Australia's National Curriculum Authority has announced it'll launch a specific media literacy module to help teens sort fact from fiction.
If you only have one camera running...
It'll be woven into different subjects, and it's part of Australia's first national media literacy strategy, announced in December.
We need them to be able to sort those things through and look at the evidence understand what are those reliable sources and what might be just people posting whatever they want to post.
And even though it is truthful, you're making it.
At Brisbane State High School, they've been early adopters of media literacy. Today, teacher Amy Gust is guiding students through the process of making news.
And he creates a documentary that says, the school's terrible, but you didn't sign up for that.
Students learn to analyse media and decide whether it's misinformation or not, and how to create their own media content safely, in a lesson much like those that'll be rolled out nationally.
Building the skills within a student to look at something and go, can I trust that? Or, what question should I ask first? Or who made that? And what vested interest do they have in it?
Experts say there is room to do much more, and that students' civics knowledge will only improve with mandated time right across the curriculum.
There's no real requirement to spend, say, a certain number of hours on civics and citizenship content.
There's homework for parents too. The National Curriculum Authority says it's also up to them to talk with their children about civics. And these budding voters say the key to government engaging them is to take them more seriously.
We're really invested in how the government's going to handle our future because it's going to impact us the most. And they need to understand that we're not just here for all of the silly little videos and edits. We want to understand what's happening in our country.
Room for improvement at home, at school and at election time. Connor Duffy, ABC News.